What's up, y'all? Still can't go live, but the show must go on. Anyhow, man, what's going on? Happy New Year to everybody. Man, I just hope everybody's all right, man. As we keep learning new things, I think it's important to kind of, I guess, maintain the motivation of tradition more so than the tradition itself. It's kind of like people try to cancel Christmas because that's not, it's not the day that we've been all told it was. But nevertheless, there's nothing wrong with just gathering together and just being family. There's nothing wrong with friends just being with one another. There's nothing wrong with just spending time and celebrating. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And then they're gonna pull, Jeremiah, the book, Prophet Jeremiah, and all that stuff, man. Just stop, man. People don't know the things that they profess. They have no idea. They just have no clue. I was gonna say that the new year is not really in January because it doesn't make sense, but I don't want to add to the whole skepticism of the times and how nobody cares about anything, or everybody wants to cast aside our mores and traditions in this society, that we all enjoyed when we were children. A lot of people don't celebrate holidays anymore. Now, I don't. But to be honest, the reason I don't is because I don't have any kids. That's the only reason I don't really celebrate holidays. If I had kids in the family, I would celebrate holidays. But because I don't, I just don't see no point. So, I feel sorry for all the people that aren't going to have traditions passed down to them because their parents were skeptics and what do they call it? They had this massive paranoia of the times and all that. But knowledge is not supposed to captivate you. It's supposed to free you. But we let it captivate us. Now we put ourselves back in bondage. He is Blanchard. Go follow He is Blanchard. But me and him did a show last week where we talked about some things, and I was talking about eschatology, and people thought I was, this one dude in the comments said that he hopes I find the knowledge of Christ and all that. I was just like, whatever. I'm like, you don't know me. You don't know what I know. You don't know what knowledge I have. Just presumptuous arrogance. It's funny because as Christians, we put rules on people that God didn't. God never put certain rules on people, and we don't understand the words that we use to pretty much hold other people in bondage. We talk about believing. Believing is a heart thing. Believing is something that the heart does. It's a work of the heart, not the mind. To be convinced of something, that's a work of the heart. And you can't fake it. I can say things all I want, but if I don't believe it, it doesn't matter. And again, the psychology of our meta narrative, it cannot counteract just psychology, right? A belief is just not saying something with your mouth. It's not something that you just say. It's not a, what's it called? Belief is not a cognitive reckoning. It's not. It's something that you're convinced of. You see it, you hear it, and then what? Then you got to do something with it. In order for it to be real, you have to do something with it. That's how you convince people. That's how you bring people in. Not just telling them lies. Lies like Jesus is God. I done had knockout, drag out arguments with people on that, and they're not honest. It's just not. It says nothing of such in the Bible. But we hold people to that, and any logical person any logical person can see that 1 = 1 and 3 = 3. But in the Christian world, we say 3 = 1 and 1 = 3. Anyway, I'm not gonna talk about that. I'm gonna talk about something in high school, man. I remember when I was in high school, like, I was a huge Jay-Z fan. I had all the CDs from Reasonable Doubt to the Black Album. When I was a senior, Black Album came out. I was listening to it, I was like, it's cool. And then, I think it was like track 13. Man, it went so hard. And it went, Lucifer, son of the morning, I'm gonna chase you out of earth. Lucifer, son of the morning. And I was just like, man, this goes hard. I was like, man, that was my favorite song that whole year. And then somebody heard it, they're like, Lucifer? I'm like, yeah, what does that mean? They're like, Lucifer's the devil's name. I'm like, what? Lucifer's the devil's name? I was like, I didn't know the devil had a name. Yeah, they're like, his name's Lucifer. So, for years I had this, I had this belief that Lucifer was the devil's name. But I still liked the song. I didn't care. I'm like, man, this song still goes hard. I'm like, and I would bump it unapologetically. I'm like, man, I like the song. So what? So, as I've grown, I see the fallacy in some of the things that I once believed. Like Lucifer being the devil's name. Lucifer is, if you look at how the word is constructed, because every name is a word. If you look at how the name is constructed, it means, lux. Lux. What does lux or Luke, right? It's where we get the word Luke, Lucas. It means light, right? And the fur, the F-E-R, it means bearer. Like, you see it in words like Bernice, and like words like Veronica, to bear something, right? So it means the light bearer. That's all it means. So when that scripture is talking about a Hebrew scripture, it talks about it says something about, oh, Lucifer, how you fallen, something like that, and it says it's just the man that shook the nations. The problem with that word is that it is a Latin-based word. Hebrew is a Semitic language. So as I grew and started, getting more, more learned, I was just like, why would a Latin word be in the smack dab middle of a Hebrew script, of a Hebrew manuscript? Just to find out that it's not even talking about the devil. Now, some people say it's talking about the devil. I don't think it's talking about the devil. It's talking about a king that fell. And if you read the context, it's clear. It's talking about a king that fell from grace, or fell from his position of authority and honor and glory. Somebody that got swelled up with pride, and he fell. Just like the scriptures say, pride goes before destruction, and the haughty look before the fall. So it had nothing to do with the devil. And furthermore, if you look in the Latin Vulgate, the manuscript, you look in Revelation, where Christ says, I'm the morning star, the word is Lucifer. So now you have all these people talking about, oh, Christ is Lucifer, Christ is the devil. It's just a huge misunderstanding of words, etymology, historical use, context, all of that, right? When you learn, it's not supposed to captivate you, it's supposed to free you. But the more we learn, the more in bondage we become. become. Like, I hate it. I can't stand it. I'm sick of it. I'm just tired. I put something on my story, I think last night. It said I'm sick of this. I'm tired of this world. That's the kind of shit I'm sick of. Just lies. And people just going with it. Not even just exploring it. I have not heard one valid critique of the Bible. Once you know it, I'm telling you, like, the more you learn it, the more the critiques just fall flat on their face. I have not heard one, and I look for it because I'm always trying to challenge myself. I'm always trying to be like, is what I believe real? Because I'm not gonna lie, I haven't proved everything. I haven't. But I'm trying to. I seek to do that. I seek to prove all things as it instructs. But I don't know, man. Anyway. But nah, man, knowledge is supposed to free you, not put you in bondage. And you know, the more revelation I get about what's good and true, you know, the more knowledge God brings to, you know, God presents me with, you know, the freer I am. Because I'm just like, I'm not about to cosplay. You know, I'm not about to fake something that I'm not convinced of. I'm not about to be a Hebrew Israelite. I'm not about to be a Judaizer. I'm not about to be somebody that's tap dancing between the old and the new. I'm not about to be that person. Like, I'm either all in, I'm all out. You know? And it's a lonely place. Because most people just have no conviction. And some people that do, I'm just like, you're convinced of something that's, I don't know if you can really duplicate that. I don't know. It's like science, the scientific method. You know, you got to be able to duplicate things in order to be knowledge, right? That's what science means, knowledge. Anyway, I've been working on I've been in my bag again, just trying to sharpen my knowledge. One day I'm gonna do something with all this. I promise. But if I don't, I hope somebody watching can take it from me and capitalize on it. But I've been reading about stress and how the stress and the aging processes are similar. The same mechanisms involved in stress are the same mechanisms involved in aging. So, you know, stress ages you. It's accelerated aging. That's what stress is. So you got to be able to first be cognizant of it. You got to know that what's stressing you. You got to know if you're in a stressful situation, and then you got to understand how to mitigate that stress. You know, I was talking to my mom, and she said one of her pool buddies, you know, like they have like this old, the pool aerobics for old women and stuff like that. Or she says old ladies and all that, whatever. But one of her pool buddies, their daughter died. I was like, how old is their daughter? She said 40. And you know, I'm knocking on 40. And I was like, what? How she died? And before she said it, I was like, it was a heart attack. I know it. And she said, oh, they think it was a heart attack. And then she said, oh, it may have been cancer, but nobody knows. Heart attacks, look at the number for heart attacks. The number of heart attacks are just skyrocketed in the last 3-4 years. And why is that? I wonder why. I don't really wonder why. I could speculate why though. But, you know, people will say, oh, you're not supposed to say that because you have no proof. Like they do Candace Owens. Where's your proof? Nah, but there's plenty of evidence. And I'll say this, for all the people that are worried if you took something that was forced on you, or even just took it out of ignorance and somewhat arrogance, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. I would suggest you make sure that you're taking vitamin E regularly. Make sure you're taking vitamin E regularly, and I don't want to hurt nobody. I would say make sure you weight training. But even somebody gonna hit me. A lot of bodybuilders are dropping, but I mean, they're not really that healthy, to be honest, if you really understand physiology. I would say vitamin E, because it's protective against vitamin E is protective against inflammatory lipids. So vitamin E, and probably a thyroid supplement, or even just thyroid medication. Most people are stressed because our environment is stressful. Environment is very stressful. But now I was just reading the other day how because I'm trying to learn about, I'm trying to expand my knowledge, so I can work with people as far as like helping them with their hormones. But now I was reading about testosterone, and then I started reading about PCOS, and how they blame PCOS on testosterone, because DHT is a very potent androgen. It helps you grow hair on your face and all that. But for ladies, the DHT will be high if your estrogen and your prolactin is high. Estrogen and prolactin are part of the stress response. So it's really not, it is the DHT that's causing the hair growth, but the DHT is there because it's trying to curtail the effects of that estrogen and that prolactin, to my understanding. And it's like you look at a 15-year-old, 16-year-old, 17-year-old male athlete, right? Their DHT is very high, but they're not bald. People blame balding on DHT, but that doesn't make sense. A young male athlete is not bald. And you got to look. They got a robust metabolism. They have high muscle mass. They don't have as much. They don't have that cumulative buildup of toxins that we get, when we get up in age because of all the alcohol and drugs we take. They don't have that issue. So, their DHT is high and they're fine. But we're blaming all sorts of stuff on DHT. DHT is actually a therapeutic if you really look at what it's capable of. I'm gonna save the rest for like Patreon, because some of the things that I've seen DHT or read that it can do, and that's kind of evident in just real time. What I can see in myself, and I don't know, but I'll post on. I'll work out the logistics of that. But yeah, if you took that thing that you didn't want to take, or you took it in arrogance, look into what I said. Look into that. Look into pretty much vitamin E, and thyroid supplement. A lot of people that have heart attacks have low thyroid hormone, or low active thyroid, because they have so much stress. Like those we call them the PUFAs, the polyunsaturated fatty acids. are highly inflammatory. So that's why a lot of people that's why we have a high incidence of heart disease in our society, because in the restaurants, that's the kind of stuff they cook with. I mean, they deep frying that stuff. Basically, they soak food in poison at high temperatures. So then you got all those oxidized fats. Then you got those polyunsaturated fats that are gonna oxidize in your body, causing all sorts of free radicals. Then you got those what they call acrylamides. I mean, it's just crazy. But like I said, knowledge is supposed to free you. It's supposed to free you and improve upon your condition if you do something with it. You know, so all the ladies that are, you know, getting kind of older and that still want to have babies, you know, look into what I'm saying. Look into it. You know, they said that they used to say that thyroid hormone is a fertility you know, it's the fertility supplement. You know, it's how to increase fertility. So anyway, I'm going back to Houston next week, man. It's so good to just hop on the highway and not get in traffic. So, man, I'll holler at y'all. I just want to show my face.